she's staring at.
Gyruss, released in 1984 for the Atari 2600 video computer system among other formats of the time, courtesy of Parker Brothers, is a home conversion of the 1983 Konami arcade game of the same name, where you control a little ship and must clear off waves of other little ships while avoiding their attacks along with other hazardous objects flying your way, such as asteroids and things of that nature. This is a single-player game with 4 selectable game modes, altering the difficulty as well as starting number of lives between 3 or 5. Gyruss resembles one of those tube shooter games, similar to Atari classic Tempest. Although unlike Tempest, which uses a knob-like paddle controller as its main means of input, Gyruss uses the stock joystick, and the control scheme is not quite as intuitive because you have to move the stick in conjunction with the quadrant your ship's currently in. So let's say you're in the top left portion of the screen, you have to move along that general area or else the ship will not move. So it takes a while to get a feel for the controls at first, but once you get the hang of it, it actually plays alright. Dare I say, it plays great despite technical setbacks. Best way to describe Gyruss's gameplay is that it's a tube shooter variation of Galaga. Each wave has ships flying in formation before converging at the bottom of the well, as it were. Once all ships have entered the field, that's when they'll fly back up and start attacking you. On occasion, these blue alien things will appear in front of you, and blasting them will upgrade your main blaster into a twin blaster, which helps in taking out enemies faster. Gyruss does have an overall objective for you to accomplish, which is to make your way to Earth. You'll have to fly past other planets in our solar system, and each planet is usually preceded by 2 or 3 waves, followed by a challenge wave where you attempt to shoot down as many targets as possible for bonus points. Taking a hit of any kind, from a projectile, crashing into a ship, or object, will cost you a life, and once you lose all your lives, the game is over. Of course, should you manage to reach Earth, the game resets you back to the beginning of the game and you get to play the whole thing all over again, only slightly harder. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward gameplay, and quite a bit of fun to be had here. Gyruss sports some fairly simple graphics, which is par for the course with home ports to the VCS. It's not the smoothest looking game, the frame rate is a bit on the choppy side, the scaling of enemy ships feels a bit janky, and there's sprite flickering aplenty, but the general layout is true to form and the game does feature each planet when you reach it, so that's nice. The 2600 port does feature a fairly basic but rather decent version of Toccata and Fugue, the main theme used for Gyruss. It's also the only thing you're going to be hearing throughout the game, as there are no sound effects. So if you don't care for Atari quality music being played on a loop until the end of time, best turn the volume down, but otherwise, not too shabby. Overall, Gyruss on the Atari 2600 is not a bad version of the arcade classic in all honesty. It's obviously not the best version of the game out there, you could probably find better takes on Gyruss on other platforms, but by 2600 standards, this is actually pretty solid fare, and I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Definitely one worth checking out.